Hello and welcome back. In this video, we'll be dealing with file handling. So, we would look at how to create files, copy files, move files from one directory to the other, read the contents of files, copy the contents of files into other files, edit the content of files, that's editing the files, and then when we are done, we look at how we can delete the files. So without wasting much time, let's learn Linux. So starting with creating files, we said in the previous video while dealing with some basic terminal commands that you can use the touch command to create the file. But then there are other ways we can also create the file. We could still decide to also use the your favorite text editor to also create the file. Just that while you create it using a text editor, it opens the file up for you to edit at once. So basically, you can use a touch command to just create the file without opening it or without editing, without putting anything in it, right? And then you could still decide to use your favorite text editor, Vim or Nano, to create the file. So let's look at that. So here, when I check there's nothing inside, I could use touch to create hello.txt, right? And then when I list, I see the hello.txt. The advantage of using touch is that you can create multiple files at the same time. But then I could also use Vim to create hey.txt, right? And then it opens it up for editing. So I can still do that, right? Save it and then get out of it. When I do the list to list the content of the directory, I see what? The hello and then the hey. So Vim will also create it, alright. But then list will create multiple files and then multiple files simultaneously. Basically that's that. Okay. Now we have to note that if you do greater than sign, double of them, right? So let's say I want to create a file. If you do greater double of this and then you create a file name, so let's say hi.txt, right? When you hit enter, when we check, we realize that hi.txt has already been created. So you could still use a double greater than sign to create a file in Linux. Bear that in mind. You use the touch or use your favorite text editor, Vim, or use the double greater than sign to create your files in Linux. Okay, so after creating the files, we would like to copy the files, right? We'd like to copy the files into a particular directory. So in order to do that, we can do what? Use the copy, that's the cp command, right? Followed by the file name. So you do cp, what are you copying? The file, and then you indicate the path or where you want to put the file. So basically it looks like this. So you have the copy, the text, and then the direction or the location. So with that, so when we list, so let me create a directory, right, called greetings, and then so now I want to copy the hello and then the hey into greetings. So when we check the contents of the greetings, there's nothing inside. So let's copy. So to copy, we said use a cp. Which files are you copying? hello.txt, right? And then hey.txt. But then where are we putting it? We are putting it into what? greetings, right? So when I do enter and I check the contents, right, of greetings, this time around I see the two files. Bear in mind we are copying, which means that when we should check the content of the current directory, we'll still see the hello and then the hey, but then we copied them and then place them into the what, the greetings directory. So basically that's what it means. So you could also use the star and dot extension to copy everything in the particular directory. So you can use that to copy a lot of things at the same time. Okay, now moving files. So now we've been able to copy the files, but then we want to move the files, right? What if we don't want the file that we've copied should still remain there? We would have to move. So to move them, we have to use the move command, the mv command, and it provides what so after using the mv command, you have to provide it with the file names, right, and then the path to where you want it to go, just like the cp, right? So move file 1, file 2, whatever, and then you indicate the path where you want to put it. So similarly we can decide to move. So let me create, right, so create a directory called bin, right? Let me just call it bin for that bin, or recycle bin. And then now I want to move the hello and then the hey that we've already copied, right? So to move them, I can just say move, right, and then hello dot txt, hey dot txt, and then what? Okay, so they are the ones we copied, right? But then where am I putting them? I'm putting them into the bin, right? So the dot means that from where I am, right, open the binary, the bins, that's the bin, just the bin, normal dustbin or the recycle bin folder, and then put this there. That's what I'm trying to say. So now when we check the contents, we see that the hello and then the hey are gone. The only file left is the hi. And then when we check the bin, right, you see that what, the two files have been moved there. So yes, we can use the move command to move files there. Now the next thing we want to look at is the renaming, right? So what if you want to rename the file? Mistakenly while creating a file or touching a file, we spell something wrongly, then we want to rename the file. How do we do it? So we can still make use of the move, right? But then this time around, instead of moving it to, let's say, another directory, we are moving it into the same directory but then changing the name. So what you do is that you move the file, right, and then you give it a new name. So basically it's done this way. So let me clear the screen. Now when we check, assume we want to rename the hi.txt, right, all we can do is just do the move, right, and then the file we are interested in, the hi.txt, but then the new name we want to give it. So the new name could be let's say yo.txt, right? So it means that it will move everything from here into this and then delete that. Basically that's what happens. It moves every content of the hi.txt into a new txt yo.txt file and then deletes that. Or as we see it, it just basically renames the file for us. So when we do that and we do the ls, we see that now it's no longer hi, but then what, yo.txt. So basically we can use a move. If you provide the next argument for to be the directory path, then it will move the content to that file. But if you provide it with a new name, then it will rename the component for you. If you want to learn more about move, you can just do man and then the mv command, and then you see a whole lot of things, right? Okay, so that's for the renaming of the files, right? Now we've been able to create files, right? We've been able to copy the file, and then we can move the file to some directories. We can also as well rename the file name if we don't like the previous name we've given it. Now how do we then read the contents, right? We want to see the contents of the file. How do we do that? So we can use a cat, as we spoke about in the previous video, the concatenate, right? Or we can also use the more command as well as the less command. So it follows the same pattern as the cat does, but it's just that they also have some specific. The more would also can also display the content of your file to the terminal for you to see, right? It could also display the contents of the multiple files on the terminal for you to see. Or the less creates a different page that can allow you to navigate through your file. So let's see what I mean by that. Okay, so let's cd into the greetings, right? And then inside the greetings, to see, okay, there's nothing inside. Let's see the cat, hey, right? Okay, there's something inside the hey. So let's populate that. So vim hey.txt, right? And then I want to, hey there, welcome. Okay, how are you doing today? So PSIRDEMATICA, how can we help, right? Okay, so now when I do the cut, right, we see something there. Okay, so now we have that. Now we want to do what? Use the more. So if you use more, right, more with the hey, you see that that's practically the same thing, just like the cat, right? But then if I do less and then with the hey, right, so it makes it look as though it has opened a new page where only the content of your file is being displayed. So you can use the less if so. Here you can view your file page by page, search for any word you are looking for, and do a lot of things with the file. Bear in mind, you are not editing, you are just watching. If you want to edit with your text editor, you could still use the command and then you can edit with your text editor. If you are done and you want to exit, you can just type there or press the Q button on your keyboard. So let's open it in a new page without any distraction. More puts it on the screen for you, just like how the concatenate does, right? But then for more, if you have a document that has a lot of pages or a lot of lines, you can be viewing it line by line or page by page. That's what more does. So basically you can use these three things to view the contents of your file, right? Okay, so the next thing is, what if we are not interested in viewing everything? We just want to check the first two lines or the first three lines. How can we do? Yes, we can use the head and then the number of lines we want, the command. So that's the head and the number of lines. To see the first, so the beginning, the head just deals with the beginning. So the beginning 5 lines, the tail, the last 5 lines, right, of the command. So let's see, we have head, right, and then I know that there are 3 lines inside the hey, but then so let me just say dash 2, right, and then inside the hey.txt you see that, oh sorry, I've typed 3, so all the 3 are here. Let me type 2 here and let's see something. So that yes, the first two lines are here. If I should do tail, right, then the last two inside the hey.txt, you see that it takes from the bottom, right? How can we help? Welcome to SIRDEMATICA. So basically the tail will take from the bottom, the first two from beneath, and then the head takes the first two or first end from above. So these are the possible ways you can view the contents of your file. There might be lots more, and you can make your research and get some more. Now we've been able to read, right? Open the contents of the file. How do we copy the contents of the file into another file? That's another interesting thing we have to look like. I've been able to read the contents of the file. So assuming I like the content of one file that I see, I want to copy it into another file and continue from somewhere. How do we do that? So to do that, we can use any of the reading commands, either the cat, the more, the less, the head or tail, and then after that use a double greater than sign to followed by the new file name, right? So when you do that, you get your files copied. So for instance, I want to copy just the first two lines, right? The last two. Welcome to SIRDEMATICA. How can we help, right? I want to copy that to the more, right? So all I have to do, I'll just do tail, right? Because I know that's the last two. So tail, and then hey dot what. So that's the file I want to copy, right? But I'm using the tail to get the last two, right? And then this time around, I want to put it inside where the text file hello.txt. So that will be hello.txt. When you hit enter and do list and we check hello.txt, we see that welcome to SIRDEMATICA. How can we help is there. So the tail, the number of lines to this copies the last two lines into the text file. It copies, which means that the last two lines is still inside the hey.txt. It's still there. It just copies it for you, which means that the concept of displaying the content of a file is like the command goes into the file and then copies the content and puts it on the terminal screen for us to see. So now we don't want to see it on the terminal screen. We want it to send it to a file with a different name, and then this is what it has done for us. So now we can still use a cat, right? And then say hey.txt, right? And then this time around, let's put it inside a new file called hi.txt. We said that the double greater than can also create a file, right? So if the file doesn't exist, then it will create it and then put the content inside for us. So let's see what happens. So now we see another hi.txt, we see cat hi.txt, and then the contents are the same as that of the hey. So basically you can use a cat, the more the less, to achieve whatever you want to, depending on preference on what you want and at a particular point in time. Okay, so that's for copying the contents of the file, right? So now the next thing we'll do is editing the files. So now we've been able to copy the contents, right? We copy the contents to the new file that we want. Now we want to continue from where we stopped in the previous file. How do we then edit the file, right? So to do that, all you have to do is just use the name of the editor, any editor of your preference. So if you want the VI improved editor, you can use just Vim and then the file name to open and edit it. You can also choose to use Nano, right? These two will open the file inside the terminal. So you do the editing inside the terminal and get out inside the terminal. Everything will be inside the terminal. you don't need any third-party application. But if you don't like that and you want to use any third-party application, if you do code and then the file name, this will use VS Code. This is one way of accessing VS Code or launching VS Code in the terminal. So it will open the file using VS Code for you. So just like we did, if I want to continue editing the hello, right, I can just do hello.txt and then it opens. And then from where I stopped, I just wanted to, let's say, insert hello there, right, hello there, something like that. So then I'm done editing. I want to save and then get out of it. So if I cut, or let me use more this time around, right, more and then hello world, you see that now hello there is there, right? So basically we can use the text editor of our choice to do that for us. Okay, now we are done editing, right? But then there are still some excesses that we don't want. There are still some files that we don't want and we want to delete them. How do we deal with that? How do we delete these files that we don't want? How do we do it? So in order to delete these files, you can use the rm, that's the remove command, right, followed by the file name. Now this command is dangerous, right? It's very risky because in Linux you don't, once you delete in terminal, it doesn't go to the real cycle again. It's deleted until you do some forensics, but then it will really take you some time in order to recover it. So you would have to be cautious in using this command. So, and then to do that, you can just use the remove and then the file name, right? If you want to remove multiple files, you can still do that. Just append the file names after all the file names after the remove command. If you want to forcefully remove the file, then you can add the -f option to forcefully remove the file. So let's see how that does. So if I check this, I realize that I want to go back, right? Let's go back. And then the I don't like the u.txt. So I want to remove anything with txt, right? So let me touch some more files. And hey, txt. So when I check it, I have more files here. Now I want to delete only the files that have txt, right? So at the end, so to do that, you can do remove, right? And then if you want to add a forcefully, you can do that. But then the important thing is that I want to delete every file with .txt. But because I'm lazy and I don't want to type them one by one, I can do star, right? Star is every file .txt, which means every file that ends with the extension txt, remove it for me. When you do that and you list, you realize that the files that had the txt extension are gone, right? And you can't see them anywhere in the bin. You don't have any bin there, right? And then I also want to delete these ones too, so I can just do remove and then hide.py and then the kl whatever .lol. You hit enter and you check they are gone, right? So basically that's how we remove or delete files from the system. So we've learned how to create files, several different ways of creating files. We've learned how to edit them, how to access, copy, move, view the content, copy the content to a new file, and now delete the files, right? Okay, so up next we'll be looking at some file handling activity that would help us solidify the concepts that we've learned in this video. I'll see you there. Thank you.